Okay, so if you work in the tech industry, the chances are your day looks something like this. So if you're in office, you commute to work. And if you work from home, maybe you just wake up and get straight to it. You're at the desk, you're in front of a screen, and it stays that way basically until you finish. Maybe you have a half-hour lunch break, maybe you're lucky enough to get an hour. Then, okay, you commute home, you see a bit of sunlight again, and then you're back in front of the screen, either playing League of Legends or crushing kids on Call of Duty. Now, this is probably great if you're still, I don't know, late teens, early 20s, but eventually this lifestyle is going to catch up with you. 60% of people in the UK are overweight or obese. Here it is, adult obesity in England. Once people go past that threshold where you have youth on your side and your body's still burning calories and producing a lot of testosterone, things stop working in your favour and you start gaining weight, you feel less healthy, you have less energy, and you struggle to focus. Now, offsetting this, the minimum effective dose is very little, and the benefits that I just described come from just the beginner's input. So I'm going to walk you through how you can go from zero to getting most of the rewards out of it. And this is where you can get caught up with the fitness industry, because people will sell you on very complex and specific targeted workouts, when in reality, what you actually need to do to go from 0 to 80% of the gains is quite simple. So, say you're a beginner. What I would start with is a mixture of strength training and cardio, because the chances are you haven't spent much time in the gym, and if you have, you haven't been consistent enough to actually get the benefits from it. And I'm going to throw cardio in there as well, because as much as the bro scientists like to say that it's pointless, it really isn't. And the changes that I've noticed when it comes to just general energy since I started putting the time and effort into cardio that it needed, that's where you get to the end of the workday and you still feel like you have energy, and you get home and you have the motivation to get things done. So for strength, I would start with a program called Starting Strength. How it looks is split as follows. So you go to the gym, and every time you go, you're going to do a squat and you're going to do a pull-up. And this will be both for 3 sets of 5. And this is in both workout A and workout B. Now, on workout A, between your squat and your pull-up, you're going to do deadlifts for, again, 3 by 5. And between your workouts on workout B, you're going to do bench press 3 by 5 and shoulder press 3 by 5. At the end of both exercises, pick a muscle that you feel like you'd like to see grow. Typically, guys just immediately look at their biceps and go, okay, after every exercise, I'm going to do biceps. To be honest, the way that this program works is that you're going heavy on your compound lift. So you're going to already be hitting a lot of the muscle group. So even if you decide to weigh things heavily into doing just biceps, don't worry about it. And to be frank, if over time you decide that you need to start mixing things up, a more intermediate program might be more relevant at that point, rather than just being more specific with your accessories. So the way this works is that you're going to pick 3 days in the week with a day gap between. So typically people do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you go on Monday, you start with workout A and you complete it. And the way that you're gauging how much weight you do is you get to your 5th rep and you think, could I do 2 more? If the answer is yes, you need to go up a weight. If the answer is no, that's a good weight for you. And you simply complete workout A, you do your squats, you set up the amount of weight that you need, you do 5 repetitions 3 times. So that means if you're doing a squat, you'll do 5 squats, and then you'll wait a minute and a half, and then you'll do it again, and then you'll wait a minute and a half, and then you'll do it a 3rd time, and that's it. So 3 sets of 5, and it's the same throughout this program. At the end of Monday, you've completed workout A, you come back on Wednesday, you've given yourself 48 hours of rest, and now you do workout B. You do your squat, you do your bench press, you do your shoulder press, you do your pull-up, and you pick an exercise of your choice at the end of each. So typically I would stick to the isolation exercises. You've got resistance machines in your gym, use those. Just pick something that you'd like to see grow. They typically have pictures on the machine that show you what muscle you're exercising. And what you'll notice when you do this is that if you're untrained, the first couple of months, if you can be consistent of just Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whichever days that you've picked, alternating between workout A and workout B, if you push up the weight that you're able to do, because over time what's going to happen is you're going to build muscle and strength, and suddenly, say you were doing the bar for squats, because a lot of people who have never done a squat before, that will be a similar starting point. You're going to notice, oh, okay, I've gotten to 5 at the bar, but, I could do another 5. And at that point, you're going to push up the weight, and suddenly you have 25 kilograms. The bar is 20 kilograms, so 25 kilograms on your back. Now, in this video, I'm obviously not going to go over the specifics of how to do a squat, how to do a deadlift, how to do a pull-up, how to do an accessory workout. And if you're a software engineer, you need to do your due diligence and Google it. Even ChatGPT could help, to be fair. But with that, like I said, we shouldn't be ignoring doing cardio. And a charity that is literally everywhere, from what I can tell, most towns have a park run. If you don't have this, all it is it's a 5-kilometer run every Saturday. And I wouldn't recommend that you do it on the same day that you have one of your workouts. So when I said pick a day that doesn't fall on Saturday if you're going to be doing the park run. If you can't find a park run, like I said, Couch to 5K is a brilliant app for getting this done. And actually, I would download Couch to 5K even if you can't do a park run. Show up. There's a lot of people there that can't run. It doesn't matter if it takes you an hour to get yourself moving 5 kilometers, because there will almost certainly be people who take an hour and 10 minutes. This isn't a race, it's a run in the park. And what will happen, because you're in a large group of people, you're going to get dopamine. You're made to exercise in groups. If you can bring a friend to the gym, even better. If you can bring a friend to park run, I mean, there's already a lot of people there. It gives you something to do. You say to one of your friends, chances are you know somebody who already runs and goes to a park run. They're so common. And if you don't, typically there are Facebook groups, social media groups where you can join. I actually had a friend who was in a park run group. So then when I went with him, I immediately had a group of 6 or 7 people and would go and get coffee afterwards. But what this is going to do is it's going to give you a beginner's level of cardio, because I feel like a lot of people, if I said, okay, go and do cardio 3 times a week the same way that you're doing strength training 3 times a week, you're probably not going to stick to it. You need something enjoyable that there's a reward to it. And the reward is that you'll probably meet like-minded people who are trying to improve their own fitness, and that's the kind of people that you need to be around if you're going to make this stick. Right, now the next thing I'm going to talk about, which I could make an entire video on, is diet. The chances are you're on a standard British diet or a standard American diet. That's why they're called standard diets. It's because it's what the average person is on. And I'm not going to say what foods you should or shouldn't eat, because sticking to a specific diet, whether it's paleo, vegetarian, Atkins, you name it, it's hard to completely change a lifetime habit. And that's why diets are so prone to failure. It's because if you try and completely change anything in your life, you're going to revert back to your old habits unless you can find a way of gradually transitioning. And I would say the best first step for transitioning is to just start monitoring protein and your calories. And this is literally just done by downloading MyFitnessPal. And you enter your height and weight, and you decide, you look in the mirror and you think, am I overweight or am I underweight or am I a healthy weight? And if you think you're overweight, then you can pick help me lose weight and pick a low option. Don't go for the let's lose 5 kilograms a week. Go for the first or second to lowest quantity, because if you try and crash diet, you're going to fail quickly. It's not a game of willpower. It's a game of habit. And if you're not used to controlling your diet, it's not going to work. But what this will show you is if you start inputting the foods that you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I'm not saying do this forever, just do it for a couple of weeks to get an idea of how much you're eating calories-wise, the quantity, and also, are you getting enough protein? Are you consuming enough foods that are rich in protein that you're getting around 1.6 grams per kilogram of weight? So, for example, if you're 80 kilograms, you want 128 grams of protein, and you'll see that in the nutrition window on MyFitnessPal. And to be honest, you could just stop here. I mean, if you get these 3 things, the strength, the park run, and your diet in check like this, you're going to see the largest change in your lifestyle in 6 months. I'm not saying it's going to be overnight. You're not going to suddenly have a 6-pack, but you will be healthy. And this is going to get you the majority of the way there for improving your general health. But okay, you're a software engineer. You want to optimize things. How do I go about doing that? Right. So starting strength is very general. If we're going for health, and that's the optimal here, there's a really nice podcast by Andrew Huberman that I'd recommend that you go and watch before you implement this. But he actually puts out in his newsletter a training program that is based on a bunch of data collated from multiple studies that tries to hit as many health markers as possible. So it looks at the 3 pillars of health. You've got HIIT training, you've got endurance, and you've got strength. It looks into hot-cold exposure. It's a very strong overall fitness protocol that long-term you could probably stick to it. It even has periodization for changing out your reps so that you're switching between hypertrophy and strength. So here it only took me a few minutes of Googling. Let's pull that up closer, see it better. Right, so the foundational fitness protocol, I literally just Googled it and clicked the first link that came up. So it's split 7 days a week where technically the hot and cold sauna day counts as your recovery day. And it covers long endurance workouts, leg resistance training, torso and neck resistance training, cardiovascular training, which could be your park run. And this is how I used to program this. So I was on this routine for maybe a year and a half. And it primed me to do the more difficult and exciting types of goals that I'll get onto at the end of this video. So if you program this as this is your Saturday, and then that would become Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I literally just opened up my Notepad app and I put the first letter of the day of the week next to these so that I'd remember. And then you'd have your high intensity interval training. This is something that I neglected in the beginner's routine because it's quite hard to motivate, but the benefits, if you watch the podcast, are worth the extra effort. And if you're willing to go beyond that initial beginner stage, this is what's going to really push the envelope for you, especially when it comes to distance running, which I'll get into later. And then finally, you have arms, neck, and calves training. And what you'll notice at the bottom here is similar to the routine that I suggested. There's 2 schedules, A and B, except instead of it being alternating exercises, he's giving you periodization for when to do heavier weights at lower repetitions and lighter weights at higher repetitions. Now, this is a fair bit more advanced, but this is covering your bases. Instead of watching 1,000 YouTube videos of different people telling you the one secret key to becoming fit, this single page PDF document will give you most of the value. You're probably at like the 90% mark. There's such a small number of people that are willing to put in this kind of effort, and it's only tops an hour a day. For things like the endurance training, you could put that into your commute. Get off the bus, a 60 minutes worth of run distance from your house and run home. When you're working from home and you don't have a commute, use that saved time to just go to the gym. And with that, you're going to have a far better rounded routine where you're optimizing for longevity and health span, which is something I'll get into in a second. Right, so at this point, I'd also start focusing on starting to go to some events. If you're doing the foundational fitness protocol, you'll probably quite quickly get to the point where you're able to run 10 kilometers, the 5 that you're doing at the park run. And you'll notice also that your park run times are getting much lower. You're probably coming in the top 20-30% rather than the bottom 50%. If this is the case, you'll notice that actually here, there's 2 medals. So this is a race for life I did with my girlfriend, and we were both on this protocol. And because of it, doing the 10K was completely within our grasp. It was achievable. And what you're doing now is you're giving yourself purpose to carry on with the more difficult training that you're pushing yourself to do. Other examples of this include rock climbing. So software engineers typically are known for liking to exercise indoors. So if you really want to avoid going outside, then have a go at, like I said, 10K runs, bouldering, which is the difference between rock climbing and bouldering is that rock climbing is where you're on a tether. Bouldering is they're lower down, and if you fall, you just free fall. But I think the biggest thing here that you can optimize, and this is entirely dependent on your goals, is your diet. So like I said, after a period of time of doing this beginner routine, you're probably going to start to realize the things that you enjoy more, and you're going to be exposed to more fitness related material. So your diet will facilitate this. So if you're going for bodybuilding, you're going to move towards bulking and cutting, which is a cycle of eating in excess, building up muscle and fat, and then reducing your consumption so that you lose fat and maintain the muscle. And if that is the case, you might want to look at something like the vertical diet. But if we're going strictly here for health and health span, then you might want to look at the Mediterranean diet. Now, I can speak to both of these because I did the vertical diet when I was trying to gain muscle, and now where I'm more longevity focused, I try to stick to whole food diets like the Mediterranean diet. And one of the ways that you can make this more easy is the next time that you go to the shop, decide, okay, I'm shopping for the next 5 days, so you need breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 5 days. Decide how many people that is. So for me, I'm cooking for 2. I'll go onto ChatGPT and I'll say, give me breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 5 days, and give me the ingredients and organize them by aisle. And then the next thing you know, you're just going to go aisle by aisle and you're going to tick the boxes as you go, and you go home and then you ask it for the recipes and it'll spit out the recipes, and you don't have to do any thinking about how you're actually going to enact these diets because it's just going to do it for you. If you've worked out your calories from getting MyFitnessPal, you can pass it your calories and it will give you an idea. But the chances are at this point, if you've been doing MyFitnessPal for a while, you've been tracking your protein and calories, with the recipes it gives you, you'll just adapt the amount of meat that you need for protein and the quantity of carbs, let's say, for your calories. Okay, so let's say you get to the end of your optimization journey and you're thinking, right, I'm in pretty good shape. What can I do now? Well, this is the part that I've gotten to where I'm looking for things outside of the ordinary that I can use my fitness for. So the first thing I did, which was crazy, I'd never run further than a 10K race, which was the Race for Life, and I booked myself in for an ultramarathon, probably because I'd watched a David Goggins video. I ran that a month ago, and in training for it, I actually ended up running 2 marathons in 2 weeks. Now, had I tried doing this before I'd even gone through my beginner stage and gone through my optimization stage, this would have taken probably a year to train for, but instead I trained for it in 3 months. And what getting to this point of optimization allows you is that you can just decide, well, I'd really like to try that. Let's do it. And you'll be able to pick it up quickly because you already have a very strong foundational fitness. Another example would be something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? That is very popular at the moment, and for good reason. It gives you a community. It gives you something to work towards that will be rewarding over the space of years. You're building self-defense. So you're going to be more confident. You're going to have a better presence about you. And the transition from before beginner, complete novice, to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu would be a massive chasm. It would be hard to adopt it because you're just going to be sweating and out of breath all the time, which actually, now I think about it, even if you are fit, that's going to be the case for this. But you're going to be able to accomplish more with the level of fitness that you would achieve getting to this point. So after I finished my ultramarathon, I needed another goal, and I've been weighing up these two, and I think I'm going to book in the Ironman. And the reason I can be so relaxed about that decision is because I know that I have my foundational fitness. I know that I'm able to do events in adjacent exercises, and I know that my diet's on point, so I've got the energy to do this outside of my work. And that's where we get to my final point. I kept on mentioning HealthSpan. Now, this is an idea by Peter Attia, and essentially what he's talking about is that because of modern medicine, a lot of us are going to live quite late into life. Now, if you continue in your mode of inaction and just allowing your health to be whatever it is based on your habits and your interest, then sure, you might live to 80, but you're going to be in very ill health from 70. And the idea behind this is that, okay, sure, by being healthy, typically you're going to add a couple of years onto your life, but that's not the main point. Where your largest gain isn't in how many years that you're going to live extra, it's how many years you're going to spend healthy. You don't want to be the person that gets to 70, and because of the way that you've treated your body, you're going to be spending the following 20 years unable to look after yourself. There's a growing amount of data that if you just do the basics, the distance that you can push your health span, the amount of time that you're up and about, able to play with your grandkids and be healthy, can be pushed right up towards the final years of your life. Now, it's all well and good living an extra, say, 10 years and having an extra 8 years worth of health span, but if you're not filling that time with meaningful and exciting things, then what are you increasing your lifespan for? My next video, I'm going to cover how you can optimize your spare time instead of your time spent doing fitness and work, so that you don't get to the end of that day and you've spent the last 3 hours scrolling through TikTok videos and you get yourself into bed and you turn on your phone because you just got a notification, and then the next thing you know, you've watched another hour of TikTok videos and you're going to wake up late the next day and probably miss your exercise routine. I hope this has helped, and I feel like there's some useful information here. If there's any further questions, just let me know in the comments. Thank you.